on the team. That's why this has been a consistent ban throughout the series.
Akali, though, going to be a change up there, as certainly had been a huge problem from Bjergsen last game. Also, when you think back to the first game, it was Broken Blade playing that 3-0 on the pick in what was an eventual loss. But this does mean there is one change at least.
And I like seeing the respect paid. I mean, Bjergsen on those collapses, on those flanks, finding his way onto that high-value target in Sneaky was the story of TSM winning that game. Cloud9 will ban out Irelia as their third ban here. One more to come in for TSM as they continue to pay the Taric tax. Ever since game number 1, they don't want to go up against that strategy again, but TSM will remove the ability of Cloud9 to play these hyper carry sneaky comps as well by getting rid of the TK.
And Tom Kench has been so good at picking off these side lane pushes, really does put a big stop to their team comp that they want to run. So I definitely respect the ban there. Jarvan risen to first pick status here for Cloud9.
Interesting, though. I mean, the desk certainly not liking the pick, talking about the lack of success there. Crumbs referencing I believe it was 1-8 record, for it in playoffs. Certainly not having a lot of success. We'll see if Svenskeren can turn things around on that pick here, though, in game number 4, as Galio likely will be heading to support. And you talked about Flowers, maybe denying the ability for that hyper carry with Tom Kench off the table, but there's always the option of going for a range support style, things like Lulu Cog. We have seen showcased at times, but it is considered very risky.
Well, this time around, TSM will have Acadian back on that champion the desk was talking about earlier that they wanted to see him on. This is what TSM was able to find some success with previously, and this is what Acadian will be piloting this game in the Rek'Sai.
Rek'Sai always has the possibility of completely taking over an early game. If you don't, though, then there is the drawback of being a squishy melee champion later in the game for team fights. So you need to make the early game count.
Now, this is something that Mark was kind of talking about, that Cloud9 last game. They drafted the Jarvan, who's supposed to be this early game difference maker, and then didn't really give him a lot of places to attack, a lot of places to actually gank and have that power. And now Cloud9 drafting certainly for power in that bottom lane. Lucian Braum, one of the strongest bot lane duos there for Siki and Zeyzal, and they will likely be going up against Galio and Ezreal, which should give them lane priority on the bot side, priority around the dragon, and even for potential invades with their jungler.
And why they will be able to have that early control. Remember, Sven's performance on Ezreal last game was nothing to sleep at. The guy had multiple sources of healing. There was no way to engage on him. No deaths throughout the entire game. Very scary.
And TSM are looking for their bottom lane to provide damage later in the game, to provide this large crowd control to the team fight later in the game. Their early focus will continue to be these solo laners. Acadian going to help out Broken Blade and Bjergsen. So the second round of this draft phase with these double bans is going to be incredibly important. TSM now on red side have the guaranteed counter pick for one of those two solo lanes. What are Cloud9 going to target?
I like the ban coming out here from TSM onto the Morgana as well. When you look at something like Galio, when he has to channel the taunt, you can very much see it coming. Hey, bro, I'm going to taunt you. You better back away. Here comes the taunt. Better watch out. The taunt's coming. Very easy to black shield that and walk away from it. We've also seen Niski already play it this series, so taking that one out makes a lot of sense. And Cloud9 says no Kale either.
And it also opens up for something more like a potential last pick LeBlanc. We did see last time around on the red side, TSM did give their final counter pick over to Broken Blade. They did blind pick that Akali, and it was kind of somewhat answered by the Zillion. So LeBlanc also going to be banned out by TSM, so never mind. But
not happening this time.
It is very interesting to see the adaptation that Sven made with his build. You talked about double tier being removed, and Seraph's kind of gave a lot of extra survivability with that big shield. He kind of replaced that with a Bloodthirster shield with 3 sources of lifesteal. That was a tremendous amount of survivability that he was able to utilize very, very well in the last game here too.
Final ban of this champion select will be the Jace. Not going to allow Broken Blade to have that control over top side. And although the end of the game story last time for TSM was about Bjergsen and it was about Sven, the early game was all about Broken Blade, with Acadian's help taking control over the top side of the map, moving into the enemy jungle, making those plays happen. This time around, he'll have to do something else, and it looks like TSM wants to give him that last pick.
Yeah, the LeBlanc ban there trying to protect themselves so that they can pick up this Zoe. There are other options you can try and run into Zoe, like Syndra, where you can try and land your stun whenever she goes forward with the ult, but they are more risky.
They certainly are, and this is kind of TSM almost taking a page out of the early season Cloud9 book, where they had been running so effectively with these Zoe Ezreal compositions to set up around objectives, to poke off teams, and take those neutral objectives.
Yeah, the poke between a Zoe and an Ezreal is extreme, and especially when you have a champion like a Galio that is super good at counter-engaging. Sit on top of those carries. If somebody comes in, you taunt them. If you're too far away, heroic entrance. Boom, you're in the fight. The TSM composition is all about that poke right now, but Cloud9 has some warriors on this team. When you look at the Lucian, when you look at the Ryze, the damage potential of these champions, as long as they can close that gap, is there.
Oh, they're doing it! The assassin into Zoe, looking for the assassin play here. Niski throws down the gauntlet.
Oh my God.
I was ignoring this. I thought this was going to be another bait and switch and everybody would get excited for nothing. But anybody that was spamming Zed or Bed, you better get up out of the sheets because it's Zed time.
Oh my God, so excited to see the Zed. And this means it's the blind pick Ryze for Licorice in the top lane here and will be answered by the Cho'Gath. This is, I mean, they don't have a lot of tank killers, but oh my God, it just feels like it's all about the mid lane.
Look at this, putting so much faith in Niski, going against Bjergsen, TSM star player here, putting him on the Zed, the assassin into Zoe matchup here, looking for those kills. TSM have been flirting with the Zed pick every champion select, hovering it here,
so high.
But Cloud9, take it up.
TSM going up against the Zed here. Cloud9 putting faith in this one to win the game that could send them to St. Louis if they find the victory. If they don't, TSM will take us to Silver Scrapes. They will take us to the final game. But man, am I excited to see this Zed. This is historically one of the coolest and most fun and most fan if you're an AD carry player champions in League of Legends to watch. And I am so excited it got locked in.
And it's also quite good against Zoe, especially if you have early jungle support here, taking away some of Zoe's summoner spells. She doesn't have built-in mobility for herself to help get away. It's just the early speed boost from, Spell Thief's activations. Other than that, Zed has the threat of going for those all-ins to look for the kills, also starting to roam around the map. Let's see if they can make it pay off.
Oh, baby, the crowd is ready. We're all excited and ready to go here as we go into game 4. Somebody with a sign that says make paddle start, point and click. Get that guy out of here. How did he get in the building? We'll see if the Zoe can manage to land those skill shots onto the Zed, though very elusive. Remember, the most recent buffs to Zed did remove the fact that he gets bonus AD from killing high AD targets with the ultimate, but they gave him a lot more utility. Early damage buffed on the spells, as well as having the ability to jump back and forth between his shadows when he's further away from them. The outplay potential is huge.
Yeah, that means that Niski doesn't have to go bottom to kill the enemy AD. He can try and kill the mid laner.
Shockblade Zed. This is also the Zed skin that you most fear in solo queue, because this is the one all the OG Zeds like to use back before we got a bunch of other cool new skins, rocking the green chroma there as well.
Yeah, he's camouflaging right into Summoner's
Oh, yeah. He's right in the lane, man. You won't even be able to see him.
Embracing the ninja status here.
While mid lane is going to be extremely exciting, I'm also super interested to see how top lane goes. This is a Comet Cho'Gath. This could just be Comet and still going tank for that style of build, but AB Cho is becoming actually much more popular in solo queue, especially into ranged matchups. We are seeing things like sometimes, even Proto Belt Rush and these sort of styles where you can pair up with your jungler, and post 6, you can just burst someone down so incredibly quick.
And that's the key. Cho'Gath by himself is a fairly clunky champion, hard to combo your skills together. But if you have a flash from Rek'Sai knockup, guaranteeing all of Cho'Gath's spells coming through, that's where the damage can 100% arise.
Fun fact on the top of your screen there, the last time we saw Zed over 2 years ago, the 9th week of 2017 spring, Dignitas versus Cloud9. So Cloud9 in that game as well. There's just something about this team and Zed, I guess, but Svenskeren will start off on his own red buff. You'll see Acadian doing the same, so might see more vertical jungling here this game.
And again, TSM, as we keep on talking about for Acadian here, focus on the solo lanes. Early on, an Ezreal Galio bottom lane should be playing defensively.
Yeah, this is a level 2 gank they're potentially we're looking for. Svenskeren was sitting in the brush, but they're playing defensively as you called out, and they're not going to be able to actually find it.
And I like the ward here coming out from the side of TSM saying, look, we know we're starting our jungler on this top side of the map. He's going for his own Krugs. If Svenskeren tries to vertical jungle, we need to be able to respond to that. And they're going to make sure that that's not a good option here. Svenskeren now looking for mid.
Again, like we talked about, if you can burn a Zoe Summoner spell early on, The Zed gains so much pressure in this lane.
Oh, nice knockup. Bjergsen tries to greed for it, not use the flash, thinking maybe he can walk out of the way, but he takes so much damage.
One check mark down there. That is the barrier used from Zoe. Svenskeren not spending a lot of extra time there. A fairly efficient gank to get that damage and summoner spell out of the mid lane.
And there was no ignite burned there by Niski. No summoners used by Cloud9. It also meant that Svenskeren was going to be able to get double scuttle because Acadian now had to retreat given that pressure that was going over to the mid lane.
Top side being shoved in by Licorice on this rise. Cho'Gath has a pretty easy job clearing away waves, keeping himself sustained, but early on you don't want to be face tanking a bunch of rise spells, so you're just going to yield control over that wave to start, as Broken Blade will keep on farming up and Acadian moves into the Cloud9 jungle.
Now we see a wraparound from Svenskeren on your mini-map, pinning again towards mid lane here.
Bjergsen taking some damage from Niski, who walks off to the side just in case Bjergsen was getting a little too hypey. He'd be walking right into Svenskeren, but Bjerg coming out in a decent spot after that trade as Acadian moves back into his own jungle. He has made a very thorough clear so far.
Oh, he didn't actually catch the ward with the sweeper, so they know where he is, and Svenskeren is actually committing a lot of time to this. They could potentially try to bait it as well if they want to call their jungler over, try to get Svenskeren to commit, and then turn this one around.
Yeah, they're calling Acadian
over. Maybe the plan. Svenskeren walking out, though. Cloud9 saying, nah, this is a little bit too risky right now. That is a pretty important miss on the ward.
But look at this ping pong. Svenskeren is just constantly on the warpath from solo lane to solo lane. He knows this is how TSM are going to focus in the early game. Problem for him, he's on wards the entire time. He has not farmed a camp in the last minute.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can see the farm differential there between him and the Rek'Sai. He does have more camps to fall back to and pick up, but certainly the more time you spend investing in these potential ganks that does not pan out, it is time that your opponent who is power farming is just getting further and further ahead. And if Rek'Sai gets too far ahead of you on this Jarvan, he can start to get in your face and win those duels so easily.
Remember, Bjergsen in this mid lane is in a spot where he's got to be very respectful of his opponent on the Zed, going for the super early cloth armor. Back in the days where Zed was meta and you had to see this champion every day, one of the most common answers to it was Seeker's Arm Guard Rush. Build yourself up some armor. You're much less vulnerable to the early lethality stacking. Niski will move over into his jungle, start taking some chickens.
Yeah, he's actually helping out Svenskeren here since it was counter jungled and the small ones were left behind. He's going to get it to respawn so he can have a full camp coming back. Plus add a few more CS to his pocket as he had pushed up the lane and Bjergsen was kind of holding it.
Svenskeren did manage to clear through the top part of his jungle. He'll now move towards that top river, recognizing the Scuttle Crab's going to be spawning there. He did get both of the first of those, wants to try to secure yet another one here.
And critically, Bjergsen not only has a spell thieves barrier, his original barrier is actually back up too. So that is going to make it so hard to ever threaten any sort of an all-in on this guy with double defensive summoners available in addition to that flash.
Nice smite there coming out from Svenskeren to make sure he keeps that crab away from Acadian, who didn't have a smite of his own, but Sven didn't know that and wanted to make sure that he kept control over that mini objective. Bottom side, Sneaky and Zeyzal on this Lucian Braum, one of the most notorious lane bully combos in League of Legends for bottom lane, but when you're up against something like Ezreal that can farm so safely from range, you can't keep him too down.
Yeah, and they're trying to actually, it looks like, hold the wave so that it's pushing towards them a little bit because they want to threaten an all-in on Sven and Smoothie. They don't want to just push him in and let him farm.
Yeah, all these built-up range minions are going to start to melt through the blue ones heading their ways. Drowsy lands.
Flash out from Niski. Seeing that Acadian was on the way, he didn't want to get himself exploded, but that is a good move there from Bjergsen, being able to force out that enemy summoner spell.
All right, teleport's starting to come through as well. Both top laners getting back to lane. Bottom lane might be a similar situation. Both marksmen holding onto their teleports. As the wave gets a little bit further and further away from the TSM side, they have Acadian moving into that side of the jungle to try and help with Sven and Smoothie. They're in a fairly dangerous spot here.
Sven and Smoothie just trying to keep the farm topped off. They want to shove this in, reset things, get back, shop. You are an Ezreal. Getting the tier online ASAP is always a goal.
And both these marksmen do have TP, so they will be able to get a nice reset off. It will be interesting to see if either side can get an advantage in that bottom lane, because that could lead to an early Ocean Dragon, which is so critical for the laning phase, especially if you are, I feel, on the side of TSM, and you're the ones that are a little bit more on the defensive in the early stages.
All right, we have arrived at the level 6 mark for the mid laners. Zed has the possibility of going all in, so he's called his jungler here. Bjergsen has the barrier back and active.
Here comes Svenskeren, and he's able to find the knock-up, and there goes your death mark. Bjergsen's gonna be taken low. The barrier comes out. Ignite continues to tick, and the proc will not be there. Niski nearly gets him on the fadeaway Shuriken throw,
Broken
but
Blade.
Broken Blade making his way over. A nice buffer. Svenskeren stays alive, but only for a moment, and TSM find first blood.
TSM called Broken Blade down the river. He makes it in time, and they find the first blood.
That was so well played by Bjergsen too. He waited until the death mark completed to flash away, gaining himself that critical distance and allowing himself to survive with almost no health.
Yeah, that almost stepped back up towards the shadow and got a shuriken in the face. Didn't finish him off.
Licorice with some damage here onto Acadian, who
has no
may
flash.
just be punished. Licorice just flashing forward, grabbing himself a solo kill, punishing a greedy Acadian.
Broken Blade has to go all the way down the river to find his kill, flash over and finish it up. Licorice just kind of walks into his own jungle, finds the enemy jungler and gets it up. Here's the all-in on Bjergsen though. Svenskeren did flash forward to try and get some extra damage. The barrier comes through, but there it is, walking close to the shadow. Acadian trying to come over and answer. They pincer Svenskeren, and even though the Q does go off and the dash is gonna go through, Broken Blade flashes over, finds the kill, and the feast.
Yeah, it's not just a kill. He managed to get the ultimate off as the execution, which means more stacks, more health later on in the game. Very much important for a Cho'Gath. As now in the mid lane, Niski failing to get that kill. You never want to see that on Zed. Every time you got that big ultimate up, you want to make some sort of a play with it. Of course, Bjergsen no longer having the barrier, no longer having the flash, means the next attempt could be the one.
That's what you have to keep track of. All of the top side of the map are flashless, both solo laners and both junglers. So the brawling could definitely continue here as everybody has their eyes towards another mark.
Sven trying to get himself away from Sneaky's Lucian in the bottom side. Sneaky unleashes the culling, taking Sven down to about half HP, but he's still in control of this lane. Gonna be shoving this wave up. Plenty of CS there for Sven and Smoothie to catch. And you're gonna continue to see the farm break about even between these two. Sven still trying to farm this one up. Doesn't quite have a lot of damage to make the last hit super even, considering he has to invest in that Sheen and Tier first. Acadian and Svenskeren both looking for the mid lane.
Spotted by the Tremor sense there was Svenskeren, and while the plan, makes sense to try to go towards the Zed in the mid lane, it is becoming so predictable because it is almost all he is doing, and it's going to allow TSM to be in the right place at the right time to respond, and Bjergsen almost has the barrier once again.
Bjergsen and Acadian working on giving the blue over to that Zoe. Zeyzal thinking about maybe trying to contest this one. Wow, that was close, but they did make Acadian have to take it. So Bjergsen will not have the blue buff here in the mid lane.
Yeah, that is a big denial there. I think their eyes should probably turn towards the objective here with the Ocean Drake on the table. Sneaky and Zeyzal have been controlling this with Braum Lucian having such high kill threats. It's definitely a possible area for Cloud9 to try and exploit. So far, Bjergsen has played this so well on the Zoe like you're talking about. There's a bit of a chunk.
And I just think, especially now, when you look at the itemization from Bjergsen, going mid lane isn't going to work. He has a Seekers and a Stopwatch available, and I don't think that's someone you can actually all in.
Niski versus Acadian, 1v1, not gonna be 1v1 for long, and Acadian takes him out, assassinating the assassin.
There you go. Acadian finds the kill for TSM, and they actually start the dragon up. Here comes Cloud9's bottom.
Cloud9 trying to stop this one, make up for the fact that their mid laner is down. Zeyzal eating some poke. Bjergsen not gonna find the paddle star on that one. Sleepy Trouble Bubble also gonna miss the mark. Acadian still here in the pit, looking to lock this one down. Svenskeren goes in, but it's gonna be secured by the side of TSM. Acadian now able to find even more damage. Zeyzal looking to get himself away, but TSM has already won the objective and the fight. Here comes your Rek'Sai ulti. That's a double kill over to Acadian.
Acadian back on Rek'Sai. Acadian with 3 kills and a dragon now for TSM. The tides have turned.
Yeah, it's Acadian taking over this early game, looking so strong. Has been in the right place at the right time, and C9's early game plan was all about getting Niski ahead. It has not worked whatsoever. Acadian gets the assassination, and then C9 trying to get this, the Justice Punch from Smoothie, interrupting the Flag and Drake. That was sick.
Smoothie said he wanted nothing more than to defeat Cloud9. He makes a big play there, interrupting the possibility of steal on the dragon, and they chase down the extra kill. TSM looking like they want to hear Silver Scrapes.
TSM with a very strong early game here. 2,500 gold up. Bjergsen continuing to safely farm in the mid lane despite the fact that he is down a little bit of farm, but considering the amount of pressure Cloud9 has been applying, that is what you would expect. But what I want to see from Cloud9 now, change it up a little bit, get more creative. Obviously, the mid lane camp plan isn't working, so try to cash in somewhere else.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the problem for Cloud9 is going to be who is supposed to be your target? It's Zed, right? When you're going later into the game. Okay, Ezreal, that's incredibly difficult. He's already built up the Iceborne. It's going to be Azonius here on Bjergsen. Broken Blade is not really going to be assailable. There starts to become very, very few targets, and they've kind of committed so much to this early game strategy. They don't really have the fallback, I think, of just waiting for team fights later on.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the best would be Acadian from the jungle, but even it's dangerous to go after Rek'Sai, you get knocked up. The ultimate can buy a lot of time too. Licorice, though, is their next target. Teleport's coming through. Acadian already has positioning on the Tribush, and he can tunnel over that wall.
If Acadian gets this knockup, remember, that's what we were talking about earlier. It easily facilitates Cho'Gath landing everything. Acadian manages to flash for the knockup. The Realm Warp will not find the mark. And Broken Blade is hungry, but lunch is denied because Acadian's on a rampage.
You can't flash those. Acadian finds another mark, and they get the kill.
Now bottom side, the 2v2 starting up. Sneaky and Zeyzal trying to make moves here yet again. The calling gonna win them the trade, but considering they're not getting any kills and they're still dropping bodies on the top half, it's TSM that continue to come out on top.
Yeah, not only that, are they gonna get the Rift Herald here to add insult to injury. Svenskeren playing down around this bottom side, but has not been able to get much, and they may be able to take some turret plates here, but Niski just getting devastated by that sleep.
And as we have seen so much in this series, individual performance can make the difference in terms of who's coming out on top. Rift Herald secured by TSM. They'll pop that one in the top side. Unfortunately, the charge will be sounded just 5 seconds after plating falls, so they miss out on 320 gold with that one, but they will take down this turret.
Yep, first turret bonus going to be added in the pockets of TSM here, opening up the map as well. They will sacrifice bottom side.
Garen goes in, tries to initiate something here. Smoothie getting himself away for now. Tries to use the heroic entrance as an exit. Instead, going to be burned down. And Sneaky's piercing light will find his heart.
C9 overload on their strong side of the map. They force the kill there. They're able to pick it up, and they should be able to answer turrets.
Yeah, I think that was an important one for them. They needed to get something with that much of a commitment to the bottom side. Svenskeren had been spending so much time, and they are going to be able to get that turret back likely on this wave. But certainly TSM in full control, it feels like, over this game.
C9, a little bit more work on this bottom lane. Tier 1 will take it out. Sneaky just trying to cycle spells, take this one down. Sure enough, he has it. Reduces the gold lead down to 1,500. TSM still feeling comfortable, but Cloud9 not out of this one, not by a long shot. Your Ryze is farming up in the top lane. We know what a late game 6-item Ryze can do, and we know what kind of a player Licorice is to pilot that one if he has the time to scale.
And we know that it's not all about compositional advantages. I mean, we saw last game how on paper it should have been Cloud9 in the later stages. It should have been about them in that 5v5, but TSM was able to navigate those team fights in such a way that they could turn it on its head. So we'll see if Cloud9 can pull something similar off here, as they're going to need to work a little bit of magic, I feel like, with this Zed, with the Ryze, when Cho'Gath is going to be such a tough opponent, I feel like, in a side lane to really pick on whatsoever.
Lethality item number 1 is completed in the mid lane there for Niski. Ghost Blade done. Probably be working on the Dusk Blade here second, or could go for a Black Cleaver if he's more worried about armor stacking. Broken Blade moving up here in the mid lane. Rupture not going to find the mark. Pretty difficult to land that on a target like Zed, but that does mean he can just move up, farm out.
Yep, it is going to give them mid lane push as well. C9 do also have Licorice down here, so Dragon is available and attracting quite a lot of attention.
Yes, sir. And remember, when you have Cho'Gath on your team, you automatically have a 1,000 damage smite. These fights are not nearly as even as they otherwise would be, and Broken Blade and TSM are deciding to start up the mountain trade.
If you use it on the Dragon, you don't have it for the fight.
But they won't need it if they're able to find the initiation like that. Svenskeren is already down. Smoothie going to be in some trouble now. Bursted out to Winter's Bite, making sure of it. Niski going in, looking to find the kill into Broken Blade. Sneaky's able to secure that one. And Cloud9 have now pulled ahead in the fight. Sneaky dashing forward, looking to grab the damage onto that enemy mid laner. Bjergsen firing back. And that's a pound as Acadian moves in even further. Realm Warp will save Cloud9, but TSM will take the fight.
Huge fight there for TSM. Looked like it was going to be going Cloud9's way, but Bjergsen, Sven, and Acadian stand strong there. They're going to take the fight and the Dragon. And second time this game, people trying to flash out of that Rek'Sai ultimate. That is a no-no. It's been on this patch for a while.
Definitely a scrappy brawl here around the dragon. Here's how it started out. Smoothie went in for the flash, and they're able to 100% the kill here before Svenskeren wakes up from the sleepy trouble bubble, but then there's no way out. C9 do answer back. They take down Smoothie. Then there's the ultimate here onto Broken Blade, and they get him before he's able to lay that feast down. But the poke from TSM, Ezreal and Zoe here, doing so much damage to get the kill on his Sneaky. Acadian's able to find the Praise Trigger. He activates the ultimate and chases him through for an extra kill.
Yeah, and that was a really good ult from Rise to get at least the soul lanes out of there, but Bjergsen is so focused in these team fights. Yes, Zeyzal maybe could have given his life, but I think they both die anyway there.
And as we continue to see both sides make plays, whether it's flash taunts or big damage coming in from range, tweet us at LOL Esports to let us know what you think are the series-defining moments in these games with hashtag LCS big plays, so we can see your opinions and maybe even talk about some of them on air as this series continues to play out. Right now, it's still 2,000 gold separating the squads. 2 Elemental Drakes here for TSM now as well, as Cloud9 will give that blue buff over to Niski. It does help with energy regeneration, does give cooldowns, so even though he doesn't have a mana bar, still going to get some bonuses out of that one. Second Serrated Dirt completed means more armor penetration for this Zed, who hasn't really found himself a bunch of kills just yet, only 2 assists under the belt. Still looking to really get that train rolling, but at least he has the farm advantage from all the early investment his team put into him. Farm advantage also going over to Licorice there on the top side with the Rise versus the Cho'Gath, but TSM maintain the lead here for themselves. Moving towards the top side now, looking to keep control over their own jungle.
I mean, those farm advantages from having some of these winning lanes really has been critical to keep Cloud9 close. Sneaky also has an edge on the bot side, did pick up a couple kills there too, and a lot of the heavy lifting may have to be done by Sneaky, who has hit his quick 2 items and is really strong right now.
And as we look further into the game, C9 need to keep this map spread out. The Rise, split pushing on bottom side. Niski Zed by himself in mid lane, trying to keep up the pressure.
Sneaky's Lucian with the Blade of the Ruined King and Black Cleaver, as you said, Azale, very strong at this point in time. You look at that enemy Cho'Gath, he's got a lot of health. Beast, Abyssal Mask, he's got the Bracer in inventory. The only armor is a Glacial Shroud, which gives 20, barely more than cloth armor. So still pretty vulnerable. Sneaky's able to find some firing time. Licorice looking to get away with the Realm Warp, but the silence says no. Acadian says no, and Broken Blade says, I'm hungry, man. Takes a big old bite out of him.
Flash follow, they get the knock up into the Rupture, and that is another kill for TSM. They take down one of the split pushers, and your pressure immediately collapses. During that time, Cloud9 did get the turret on top side, though, so they did get some gold.
But you can see how easy that collapse is to pull off. Licorice, your ultimate is canceled just by the silence there from Cho'Gath. You don't have to hit a knockup. You don't have to do anything fancy whatsoever. You just layer that AoE silence over the Realm Warp. He gets canceled, and despite flashing out, Licorice goes down.
Yeah, only hope there is probably flashing the thick part of that wall and hoping that TSM messes up the flash follow.
We've seen it happen before, right?
Yes.
Some of those walls are pretty tricky. You have to have it precisely placed if you want to come out on top. Bjergsen now moving back towards the mid lane here on this Zoe. Luden's Echo completed, going straight for the Zhonya's Hourglass second. Really like this choice. It's going to make you pretty much immune to the Zed being able to kill you, and means you can play much more aggressively.
And C9 know that they have to make a vision play here. Look at the investment in control wards. Moving up as a team, trying to take control around this Baron area. They need to get some of the pickoffs going because TSM are increasing their lead.
And I want to point out, if you look at Niski's itemization, normally you see the Zed go for like a Duskblade second. It helps him rotate around, not step on top of wards, also gives you the extra burst. But the items in inventory tell me Edge of Night. He wants to have the spell shield, so when he goes in, he might not get Sleepy Trouble bubbled immediately, and it gives him more power, more playmaking opportunity. As bottom side, the playmaking is once again attempted by TSM, but Licorice can disengage.
Yep, Licorice procs his phase rush there on Rise and able to run out. TSM still take the turret.
And when we pointed out all those early advantages that Svenskeren had in the earlier games of this series, we now have to point out the massive one that has been built up for Acadian. You know, he's well over 2,000 gold ahead, 2,300 gold ahead of his opponent. He has the most gold in the game. Yeah. This guy is at a point where you can 1v1 the Zed. You can 1v1 perhaps even the Lucian. Like, you're so strong right now. And certainly, you got to be so scared of the Rek'Sai at this point in the game.
Rek'Sai has been outstanding for Acadian throughout these playoffs. LCS keeps bringing it up as well, and he's delivering once again.
Pause has been called by Svenskeren. As we're updated as to what's going on, we'll make sure we keep all you guys informed. But for now, it is going to be a momentary lapse in the action. And as you guys are talking about Acadian, I mean, this is what the desk said they wanted to see him on. This is what they were questioning in those first couple of games, saying, why are we not seeing him on this champion that he has had such good performances on in the past? And now that he's playing it, I can see why they're talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strong early jungler, and especially this game when J4 committed so much time to all these ganks that never paid off, right? Really, all they ever got was summoners from Bjergsen. They were never able to get that advantage in the mid lane, never able to get that into kills. It just meant that Acadian, who was farming, created these big edges for himself when those two junglers eventually did meet.
What a change in this best of 5 with Cloud9 in the first 2 games looking dominating, but TSM coming back so strong, breathing new life into it, and now poised to push it to a game 5. Really looking like we're going to go to the stretch here.
But I don't want to discount Cloud9 either. As we already said, the first 2 games, very swift, very, very certain in who was the winner and who was just the one falling behind. Game number 3 was a war. Back and forth, it swung multiple times as the teams took turns controlling that game. It's ultimately TSM that won, but Cloud9 is not a team that you can just count them out. Both of these teams have histories of being able to come from behind. We already saw the stats, this split of TSM winning when they had a deficit of 15. And let's not forget, Cloud9 is the organization that last year at one point was the 10th place team and went on to not only qualify for playoffs, went on to qualify for Worlds, and got the best placement North America has ever seen at the Worlds level of competition.
I think I may know Broken Blade's response to that. Didn't ask.
Well, he's going to have to ask how they win this game because they want to take it to that game number 5. Broken Blade himself, very relevant right now, has the Abyssal Mask, has the Righteous Glory, the Cho'Gath. It's not that AP build that you mentioned as a possibility earlier, but I like the fact that he's going meatball status. He's saying, hey, I got 2 big artillery cannons behind me. I got the Ezreal. I got the Zoe. They're going to do enough boom, boom, pow for everybody. I can just sit here and take all those shots from the enemy team.
Yeah, and with the Righteous Glory speed up and slow, it actually makes it very easy to land those skill shots when you do land the slow on your rise. And just to give you guys a little bit of an update about the audio issue that is going on, that is being fixed up right now. The players have been given permission to chat during this pause, I do believe, and it is going to be about 2 minutes until that is fixed, and then we will be right back into game.
What an exciting one. Will they continue to focus on this side laner? You keep mentioning the Righteous Glory here and the ease of activation, just making it the tower dive even, looking so effortless there for the TSM duo of Acadian and Broken Blade, finding that kill onto Licorice again.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see if C9 can really find a way, to get back into this game. And to talk about, what I believe is probably their best chance. It is, as you were talking about, Kobe, playing around vision. And, they have so many wards and so many pink wards around that Baron. If they can get a pick rather, if you can shut down Acadian, if you can turn that into a Baron, then all of a sudden they can unlock themselves into this kind of side lane style of play, where you have Licorice on one side of the map, Niski on the other, you have a relatively strong 3-man squad, and that feels like their best chance in, but they're such tough targets for the Zed.
Yeah, the map definitely looking very blue right now with all of those control wards being put down. Currently, we're in a situation where 15 seconds after the pause is resumed, the Drake is going to arrive on Summoner's Rift as well. And that's another tool with 2 neutral objectives to pull you across for them to try and exploit.
And we'll see if they're going to be able to actually do it, but has been such a battle back for TSM. Going down in 2 very decisive games to Cloud9, game 1, game 2, even in game 3, despite some early advantages, it felt like Cloud9 had stabilized. It felt like they could have closed out that series, but here we are, TSM having turned around game 3, in control of game 4, and the momentum is changing. It feels like they are, as you said, kind of on the verge of perhaps pushing us to a 5th game.
Both of these teams fighting so much over the split. TSM with a slower start, but much bigger resurgence towards the end of the split. And we remember the last game that these two had, it was TSM with a huge lead the majority of the game. But again, Cloud9 coming back with a big play.
And as we wait for the issue to be resolved on stage, the analyst desk is going to give us their thoughts on the state of the series.
You got that right, Captain Flowers. Midway through this 4th game of the series, things are looking good for TSM again from this point on, and it's Acadian, actually, who seems to have stepped up to help them secure that lead.
Oh, why is that, Crumbs?
Yes.
What happened to
Well, he's got the same champion he did really well on against Echo Fox in the same matchup, so he's out there killing it. However, I am a little concerned, though, because you're going to have to deviate some of that gold. Spread the love. Rek'Sai is not a single carry champion, so if he gets funneled more and more gold, that's not going to be good for TSM moving forward. It's got to go to the Zoe, to the Cho, to the Ezreal, and then you're in a good spot.
The nice thing is the comp that they're up against is not one that they need to necessarily worry about getting outscaled from this position. The Lucian, the Zed, the Jarvan are not suddenly going to be like, ah, man, the Rek'Sai got all the kills and now we're useless. So it would be nice if you could get that on the Zoe and the Ezreal, but at this point, just the fact that they have a better team comp overall, and it's a different team comp than we're used to seeing out of TSM, that's all really promising.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really interesting, because you would have normally looked at Broken Blade's champion pool and you thought he's going to go with a carry in the top lane, and that's why you lock in Ryze into Zed, because you're expecting a carry v carry matchup.
Yeah.
But he turns things around, busts out the Cho'Gath, and it's a great answer to Ryze and Zed. A silence ends their entire damage output, so I'm really impressed by TSM rotating Broken Blade into a tank in a match that was so crucial.
I'd be curious to know when the last time we saw Cho'Gath and Zed in the same game. I have an experience of that playing versus Bjergsen and Cho'Gath actually, where I was Zed. Although it was a full AP Cho'Gath, I did not have a very fun game, and it doesn't seem like Niski's having that fun of a game on Zed either. I like the fact that he picked it, but I don't think this is the right situation for it. You have 3 tanks, or a tank top, a tank support, and a Rek'Sai that you can't really kill. And you have an Ezreal that builds Iceborne and a Zoe. Who's he gonna ulti?
I mean, that's why I think it was interesting by C9 to kind of call out Broken Blade, it felt like, where you're like, okay, if it's just a Galio and a Rek'Sai as your front line and you take Kennen top or something else, like suddenly there's a couple more targets, but the Cho'Gath being an extra front line and bringing how much extra CC a Cho'Gath has, that's why it was such a big surprise, because like, we've never seen this out of Broken Blade other than the one Scion game, and it's a perfect situation to do it.
And as would be expected of a composition that has Zed in it, we saw a lot of attention being lent towards that mid lane. Couple summoners blown out of Bjergsen, but not really able to convert those into the early kills that Zed needs to start becoming either a side lane threat or that assassin threat to a backline.
And I think Hai brought up a great point, where you have Zed in the mid lane, and probably the best synergy with him is an Elise. You bring easy crowd control and mixed damage, whereas with the Jarvan, it's very easy for Bjergsen to itemize armor, which he did with the stopwatch, the Seeker's Arm Guard, early cloth, and then suddenly you have no more kill pressure in that lane, and you can't even tower dive when you get to push into the turret. So it's very difficult to snowball that matchup, and they failed to do so in the early windows. Now in the mid game, you're going to be in a lot of trouble because you can't 1v1 anyone in the side lanes.
So the question now is, where does Cloud9 go from here? And likewise, where does TSM go from here? I want to talk about the Cloud9 side, since they're the ones in the deficit right now, and they're the ones with the Zed who was not gifted those early kills and doesn't necessarily get his choice of where he wants to go on the map.
Right. So for C9 to win this game, it's going to be a huge mountain for them to climb. They're behind 3,000 gold, and their team comp doesn't scale that well. They have a Zed that doesn't scale that hard, and they have a Lucian that doesn't scale that hard. So what's going to need to happen is that Licorice is going to have to get huge. He's going to need Void Staff, Death Cap, Archangel, Hourglass, 5-ish items so that he can do damage to the front line. And in that same vein, Niski's gonna have to find a way to get to the back line and sacrifice his life to either kill the enemy AD carry or the mid laner, or just get them out of the fight.
Do you think this is a good time for the high school of shot calling, where you just say, forget team fights, we're going like Rambo.
1-3-1.
Yeah, Rambo and side lanes where you're shadowing the Ryze with the Zed and stuff like that? Because even if they get, you know, like these items you're talking about and try and find backline, the team fight is so hard.
One taunt, one silence, it's over.
Right, so is it easier to just say, side lane only?
Create chaos.
Yeah, right.
That'd be easy to do if the enemy team doesn't have a Cho'Gath. The pressure on Baron is insane. They would do Baron so fast with a Fed Rek'Sai and a Cho'Gath. That's 1,700 true damage. There's no way you can effectively split push if you're behind already. Like, they can do some fancy things, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know if they have the mentality of doing like some ninja Zed play.
Right, and we've just crested that 20-minute mark in the game, so Baron is definitely a threat or a consideration for both of these teams in their strategic game plans moving forward. For TSM, Crumbs, you already talked a little bit about what they need to do from here, which is diversify where some of that money is, right?
Those bonds.
Yeah. It's great that Acadian has the lead, but now he's got to help his teammates get ahead. Who on that team, then, are you looking to get the gold to most in order to secure this victory?
So I think he's done a good job in helping out the top laner so that the Cho'Gath can be that front line for the rest of the team. You've seen some of the kills that he actually backs away, doesn't use his bite, doesn't use his ultimate, makes sure that Cho gets the stacks, he gets really strong. But now it's about Sven, the Ezreal. He's going to be a crucial member of this fight because he's your AD carry. He's the one that can move around and deal the damage from a safe distance against champions like the Ezreal, the Lucian, even the Zed. So as long as Sven can get gold in his pocket, he's going to be able to pilot the later fights very well.
All right, I've thought about it. So what C9 has to do is when you have a carry, you're the carry, right? You're a mid laner and you're weaker than the enemy carry, you want them to be off in the side lane with you because you don't want a 5v5 where they're stronger than you. Yeah. So what you have to do is pull either the Cho'Gath or the Zoe off to the side lane and just keep them with you. And keep
All right, well, some thoughts from our shot calling mastermind. Hi, as the players load back into their seats, we're going back in the game and throwing it over to Captain Flowers, Kobe, and Azael for the call.
Thank you very much, Dash. Once more under the rift, and now the Baron is started up by Cloud9. The one ward in that pit from TSM is already disabled by a control ward. Zeyzal will sweep out the backside of the pit. A blue ward placed down slightly outside will reveal that Cloud9 is up to something. Svenskaren's down to about 1/3 HP. This could be very dire if it goes badly for them. Niski's gonna be in some trouble, taken very low, taken down. Bjergsen grabs that kill, and TSM will now look to make even more happen. Baron is still going to be aggro. This is a leash. TSM has now taken over the pit. They've taken over the Drake. It is secured by Broken Blade, and TSM has some hell of momentum now. 3 dead on Cloud9.
Wow, what a banger! We come out of the pause, and the Baron is down. Now TSM are marching at the gates.
That is one way to come back into the game after a pause.
Hey, I mean, you've got to respect it. They know they're very far behind. That is a play that could get you back into the game, but TSM snip it out. They kill off Niski on the side. He wasn't really able to get anything at all done with his engage. TSM take the Baron, they take the Infernal, and you've got to feel like now, if it wasn't before, the game is fully in their hands. And this is Sven base checking a Zed, but that combo was honestly failed pretty hard. I'm not even sure that the Shurikens really hit. And then he kind of taunted back in, he flashed away and then shot it back. Like, he wasn't able to really get too much done onto Sven. Broken Blade just goes straight over the wall. They smite, and then Feast is down, and they take the Baron.
Cho'Gath here is your trump card for the Baron. Able to get the Feast off. Svenskaren tries to go back in. Pretty good timing on it to try and save that and grab the Baron. Isn't able to get it, though. TSM now have Baron.
And I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the Drakes. Cho'Gath adds this extra element of objective control that you cannot discredit or disrespect. Cloud9, they go for the ballsy play. They try to get themselves back into the game and sneak that one away, but TSM responding in time means they now command a 6,000 gold lead. They have everybody ready to go with Baron, and we'll see what they can do with it to pressure this map.
And at that point, it becomes so difficult for C9 because you want to be in a side lane, as Hai was talking about. If you're opposing solo lane or stronger than you, you want to be drawing them to you. But TSM, when you have Baron, the wave clear is so difficult. So now you just force them to come to you. You group up, you push down. Zed is not the kind of champion that can wave clear this out. Neither is Lucian. You're forced to fight or just cede all of your objectives.
Yeah, and for C9 right now, they have Licorice split pushing on bottom side. They're trying to get something going for themselves. But TSM with the Baron buff can't be stopped on this top side, and they're marching on the inhibitor.
The momentum continues. Top lane, TSM wants to push this one up, continue finding damage, continue using this buff. Trap Cloud9 and the rest of their base for the entirety of this game with the pressure the Baron gives you. Mid lane, the tier 2 will fall. Acadian's not with the rest of the squad, but TSM is not concerned. Righteous Glory coming out from Broken Blade. Stasis will buy him some time. Glacial Fissure not gonna find him mark, but Svenskaren will. Broken Blade in some trouble, gonna be taken very low, but not quite taken down. Niski going into the middle of everyone, but he's gonna be killed immediately. Fred goes on a killing spree. They lose their top laner, but TSM will win the fight. Now they're onto the inhib. Now they're pushing even further in. They're going for the end of this game. Nexus turret number 1 under fire, taken down to half HP. Acadian going behind enemy lines, looking to grab the kill onto Sneaky. Taunt's gonna be used, but not even needed. The health bars evaporate. Cloud9 evaporates, and TSM in 25 quick minutes will take us to game number 5.
C9 dominated game number 1 and game number number 2, but it's TSM with the fastest game of the series in game number 4. And it is TSM with all the momentum as we go into Silver Scrapes.
This is what TSM fans wanted to see. This is what League of Legends fans wanted to see in terms of getting all 5 games from these 2 squads that have such a reputation and such a history in the LCS.
C9 need to remember how they won games 1 and 2, both under 28 minutes, complete domination. We're heading to the decisive game number 5. Everyone predicting in this match leading up to this, these 2 powerhouses were completely split. There was 50-50 fan votes coming into this series, and rightfully so, it's going to come down to that last game.
You have to feel like it's so much been this battle of the junglers, right? Svenskeren, so incredible in those early games. Now Acadian on the rec side, 8-1-6. He was monstrously strong. Svenskeren was not able to make anything happen with all that early pressure he was putting on around mid. And when Niski and him couldn't get anything done there, it felt like the game was falling into TSM's hands. So maybe it's all about this Rek'Sai pick in game number 5.
It really feels like so goes the jungle, so goes the game. Svenskeren and Acadian both popping off at different moments. But we are now at the one moment that matters. The series is tied up and heading into the decider. So we're going to see what the State Farm Analyst Desk has to say about game number 5.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. We're going to game 5, gentlemen. 2-2-2 is the score as TSM has put 2 together in a row here to push us to Silver Scrapes in that 5th game of the series. We've already talked a bit about it during that pause. We talked about what we wanted to see teams do immediately out of the pause. And
I don't know about the Baron, but...
fastest game of the best of 5 here for TSM.
Yeah, I personally feel like I'm a broken record here, saying it over and over. You gotta take the Rek'Sai. In these matches, vision control is a huge deal, and Rek'Sai is very difficult to counter gank, to track in the jungle, and if you fall behind, you can always check every brush. On top of that, you have a great matchup against the Jarvan, and Acadian showed it once again. He went, I think, 5-1 at some point, and then just ended up just doing so much work. This is a counter gank that he had on the mid lane. This is one of the best things that this champion brings to the table, and when a series is being so close, these kinds of plays matter.
And you see a play like this, and you're like, okay, this is probably doomed for C9 there. Mid lane Zed Assassin getting sold out by the enemy Rek'Sai. That's a big warning. And this is Acadian's best champ, it feels like, by far. Had it last series as well. Took over a number of games. And he's always been a more early game centric player. And to give him something that is not only early game, but also a little bit more autonomous where you don't need follow-up behind you like the way the Jarvan does. The fact that you can just kind of 1v1 a Zed plays more to his strengths.
It's very easy to flash knockup, whereas Jarvan you have to flash EQ. That one's much harder to hit. And when you're first picking Jarvan, he's strong when you have a comp set up with him, like a Galio. But you take the Jarvan then first pick, the enemy team is going to take Galio. And now you have no follow-up for when you engage and you're going to get killed. And then Rek'Sai beats you up after 2.
Refueling for game 5, but that's the kind of turnaround performance you want to see out of a player, right? You go down early in a series, you're getting totally bodied by the more veteran player on the stage. And then you find a game like that, and you got to wonder what that's going to do from a mental standpoint for Acadian moving into this 5th game. But you can see here all across Twitter, many other pros, former pros, voicing a similar sentiment.
It's like I was saying it weeks ago, and people were calling me crazy, and now they're all saying it like it's their own originals. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What Cloud9 needs to do now, you don't even take the Rek'Sai. You ban it, and then you take a matchup like Kindred into the Jarvan or Kindred into the Jarvan, be super aggressive into the jungle and punish what Acadian is doing. I think that taking it away might be a valuable proposition, but just getting rid of it altogether throws a wrench in TSM's plans.
Yeah, I think that's something to consider. In Game 5, C9 as the higher seed will have side selection. I'll notify you guys of that as soon as I find out. Both teams have been trending towards red, but Mark, is that actually going to be the right decision here in Game 5, or should C9 look to shake things up?
I think it really depends on what Crumbs was saying there about the Rek'Sai versus Jarvan pick, because if you want to take Jarvan and you want the Jarvan Galio...
No more Jarvan, just enough.
You're super...
Enough? He's 1-9 in playoffs.
Hey, I'm not arguing with you. I'm arguing with what the coaches might do.
Okay,
so it
fair.
feels like with how they're favoring red side, if they are going to take Jarvan to be Jarvan Galio, like you were saying, or you can say blue side for the first time this series and maybe first pick the Rek'Sai and be like, all right, what else do you have, Acadian? And force them on to something else while not needing to use a ban to do it. But I think with the soul lanes, as much as we're talking about the jungle, the soul lanes are being a little neglected here, where was Licorice this game?
Yeah?
It's a complete non-factor when he's supposed to be one of the biggest mismatches in the series.
Well, it's a pretty hard matchup, right? Horizon to Cho'Gath. I don't think Horizon can really do anything. And then Jarvan put all of his attention on that Zed lane because Zed needs that because he gets beat up by Zoe. And then why are you doing that? The Ryze needs a carry for you.
Exactly, but I'm saying it's a draft thing. So
Right,
give your
right.
best player, go red side, and give Licorice the chance to counterpick so you're not playing Ryze into Cho. So you are giving him the chance to pick what he wants because when Bjergsen gets counterpick, you feel him having this huge influence over the series, and I feel like you need to give Licorice a similar opportunity.
Right. I think we go right back to that segment we had at the top of the day where we're pinning your faces on the board, right? And you're talking about what are the win conditions for Cloud9. Licorice and Sven Skirmishes are supposed to have an advantage over their counterparts.
Yeah, I'm going to not favor so much in the top side. I think that the difference between these two has been kind of negligible, whereas you see the wins and losses, Svenskeren and Acadian, when one succeeds, the other one feeds. Just go hard in the jungle, prioritize that. It's spilling over to every single lane. Acadian is essentially the rookie in playoffs here as well, so you might as well put even more pressure on this. Many teams around the world, when you're up against a rookie in playoffs, craft entire strategies built to take them out of their comfort zone. Why not do that here? We've seen in previous series that it works. Just focus the rookie.
Here you go. C9 has elected to go to blue side. So we are finally getting one of our teams to kind of shirk the trend and maybe bring some learnings forward from what's been going on.
With no roster swap either?
No roster swaps, to my knowledge.
Wow.
The other thing to talk about with this is with the 2 wins TSM picked up, Ezreal for Sven. And he has looked so good, getting solo kills in lane, sniping people out time and time again, forcing them low so they have insane objective control when they had the poke with the Jace as well. As much as it's another part of the comps that we haven't been talking about, where Sven has absolutely started taking over the bot side of the map with his Ezreal play.
Right, and I really like Crumbs' point about trying to pin more on Acadian, because TSM is 2-0 in the last 2 games, right? So momentum is all on them right now, and the best way to put a curveball into that is to put the person that's keeping that pace off his game. So make him blow on a champion he's not comfortable with or a matchup he's not comfortable with and focus him so that they can't just keep doing what they're doing right now because that momentum's going to be deadly.
Momentum is huge for TSM right now in this series, just as it was coming off their finish of the regular split. We'll see if Cloud9 can hold them off as Cloud9 and TSM are heading into a Game 5. Only one game decides which team earns a spot